So in closing today, I wanted to talk to you about one story of the history of the martyrs of the church. And I think I've told the story before, but I wanted to reflect upon it afresh to you this morning. And it's simply called 40 Brave Soldiers for Jesus. 1600 years ago, the pride of the Roman army, the 12th Legion, was stationed at Sebastia, just south of the Black Sea. It was midwinter, and a harsh order had just come by messenger from the capital at Constantinople. Reigning as emperor at this time was Valerius Licinius, whose vicious hate for Christianity had caused the death of untold thousands of martyrs. Snow was falling as the new emperor's orders was read to the soldiers standing in attention under penalty of death. Read commander of all the members of the Roman army that they must at once offer sacrifices to the emperor and acknowledge him as the one true God. No one blinked an eye. They were Roman soldiers, the most highly disciplined in the world. But every mind went immediately to the 40 among their ranks whom they knew to be Christian. The same thought went through each soldier's mind. The Christians will never sacrifice for the emperor. They will never desert their God.
40 brave soldiers for Jesus. 40 brave soldiers for Christ. We'll be true to our God instead of death in the face. Though we perish in this lake of ice, we'll be 40 brave soldiers for Christ.
As soon as the soldiers were dismissed, a captain came to the commander's tent and announced that there were 40 soldiers who had not performed the sacrifice to the emperor. They were immediately arrested and put in the custody of Aglios, the chief jailer, who marched them off to military court. The commander opened the trial's formality by saying, "Of all the soldiers who served the empire, none are more loved or needed by us than you. Do not turn our love and respect to hate and contempt. How important can your Jesus be? Bow down to the emperor, and this will all be over." But the leaders of the 40 said firmly, "The word of God says, 'Thou shalt not have any other gods before me.' We've made our choice. We'll not sacrifice to the emperor. We'll devote our love to the living God."
40 brave soldiers for Jesus. 40 brave soldiers for Christ. We'll be true to our God instead of death in the face. As we perish on this lake of ice, we'll be 40 brave soldiers for Christ.
Because he himself did not have the authority to sentence the Christians to death, the commander had to wait for the arrival of the inspector general, who would be making a visit to the 12th Legion in about a week. So the Christians were put in the custody of Aglios, the jailer, for that entire week. When the general came, he agreed with the decisions of the commander and gave the Christians a choice: worship the emperor or be delivered over to torture and death. The Christians remained firm. "You can have our armor," they said. "Our names are very wise. We have made our choice. We prefer God." Then the soldiers heard what their sentence would be. They were to be bound with strong rope and led to the shore of the nearby frozen lake. And at sundown, they were to be strapped and marched out to the middle of the ice. At any time, any one of them could change their minds and go through the ritual of sacrifice to the emperor in a heated bath on the house of the lake shore. Aglios, the jailer, who had been caring for the soldiers for a week, watched as the soldiers were stripped and marched shivering to the shore to make sure they did not try to escape. And as they marched, they sang,
40 brave soldiers to Jesus, 40 brave soldiers to Christ. We'll be true to our God and stare death in the face as we perish on this lake of ice. We'll be 40 brave soldiers for Christ.
For a while, their song echoed through all the camp. But as the hour of midnight approached, and the temperature continued to drop, their voices grew more and more weak. Then one of the 40 was seen as emerging from the darkness. He was giving up. He was willing to sacrifice to the emperor. He fell to his knees on the shore and began crawling to the bathhouse. Only Aglios, the jailer, was still awake to hear the thin voices of the one on the ice shiver as they sang 39 brave soldiers of Jesus. Aglios watched the man enter the bathhouse and emerge quickly, apparently overcome by the heat. He saw the man collapse on the ground and then lie still. At that moment, something happened in the heart of Aglios, the jailer. What it was, only he and God will ever know. But the guards reported hearing a great cry which jerked them awake. Rubbing their eyes, they watched as Aglios, the jailer, wrenched off his armor and ran onto the frozen lake shouting,
40 brave soldiers to Jesus, 40 brave soldiers to Christ. We'll be true to our God and stare death in the face as we perish on this lake of ice. We'll be 40 brave soldiers for Christ.
Go ahead and just play a little song in the background as we close in prayer this morning. There will always be room for one more. There will always be a place for 40 rather than 39. And the question is, what would our decision be? What would we have done had we been among those 39? And only our hearts can answer that question.